Hi, today we're going to talk about creating talent profile descriptive flex fields. In this session, you're going to learn how to find the correct profile item code, how to create a DFF, or also known as a descriptive flex field, and make it visible on the profile options, how to create an associated value set, and how to deploy the DFF. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go look at our talent profile. So there's many ways to get to the talent profile, but from an administrative perspective, I'm going to go to my client groups and profiles. You're going to go up to profile types. And again, this is what it's called in my system. Your system might have the talent profile named something completely different, like either profile or talent profile, or even skills and qualifications. And once we get to the talent profile, you'll see all the different sections that are available. If you scroll down, let's go to the career preferences section. You'll notice that the section has a name. It's called career preferences. It has a description, and it also has a template. So if I click on the career preferences link, it's going to take me into the career preferences section. And if I scroll to the bottom, you'll notice that any of the out of the box section properties are listed at the top. However, any DFF context code are listed at the bottom. This is where you need to go to find the context code where you're going to create your DFF. Your DFF is going to be specific to the context or to the section. So if I cancel out of this and I go into a different section, maybe I'm going to go into memberships. Well, if I click on memberships and I scroll to the bottom, you'll see that person membership is my DFF context code. But what we have to do is we have to remember this because this is how we're going to go make our DFF for the talent profile. I'm going to head and click cancel and cancel again. So in order to go make my DFF, we need to go to setup and maintenance. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can either use your navigator icon or the hamburger icon and go to setup and maintenance over here, or you can also go to your name in the upper right corner of the screen and click setup and maintenance. If you don't see setup and maintenance, you don't have the appropriate privileges to access that information. You'll have to update your security roles. Once we get to setup and maintenance, we're going to click this little icon over on the right side. It's the tasks icon, and then click search. This is searching all of the tasks in the entire system. We are going to search for manage descriptive flex fields. You don't have to put the whole word in, you can put some of it, and then click the search icon. Once it comes up, you'll see that there is a manage descriptive flex field task type that is listed. We're going to go ahead and click on that. Now we have to define where we're going to look for our descriptive flex fields. I happen to know that any of the descriptive flex fields that are related to the talent profile, they actually start with the code HRT. So I'm going to go ahead and put HRT in my flex field code box and click search. I come back with a few options, and I'm going to go into the profile items section right here. And if I click on it, it'll highlight it, and then it'll allow me to click the edit button. Let's go ahead and click that edit pencil, and it'll take us into the profile items. You'll notice at the top, there's some global segments available, as well as a context segment that's available. But we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we are going to look for the context sensitive segments section. And you'll notice it has a context, and that list is listed as certification. I'm going to go ahead and click the drop down next to that because I need to change that. I'm going to go ahead and click on search, and I'm going to actually wipe out that display name because I want to search all of the values that are there. However, if you remember or you wrote down the value inside the talent profile that we looked at earlier, you could also type that into display name and search. I'm going to scroll down, and I happen to remember that the first one that we looked at under career preferences is going to be this one right here, person career pref. Be very careful. Some of these are actually very similar to each other, and you don't want to click the wrong one. So make sure you pick the right one, and you're careful about viewing it in the talent profile and marking down which one you have to select. I'm going to click on person career pref and click OK. So now that context is visible in this dropdown, I'm going to go ahead and click the Create button. So now I'm going to go create my segment. This is my DFF. This is the field that I'm going to add to my career preferences section of the talent profile. Maybe I want to add job title. I'm going to go ahead and start typing in the name of my new flex field. Once I click off of that, it's going to automatically create the code and the API name. The next thing it's going to ask me for is a data type. Well, what kind of information are you looking for? Is it a character? Maybe it's a list of values. Are the values numbers or are they characters? Is it a date or a date and time? I'm going to do a list of values for this one, so I'm going to pick character. I'm going to skip over value set for just 1 minute, and we're going to come back to that. Default type, I'm not going to select anything. I'm going to leave the default type as blank. Under the display properties, the prompt has already been pre-populated based on my responses up at the top. And if I click on display names, this is where I tell it what kind of display do I want. You have a lot of different options. Do I have a small list of options that I can display as a checkbox or a drop-down list? Or is it a very large list of values? Maybe it's a text area or a rich text editor. I'm going to go ahead for this example and pick list of values. You can also select a display size and a display height if you'd like. I'm going to leave those blank for right now. The BI enabled checkbox marks whether or not you can report on this field in BI. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that's checked. I'm coming to the upper right section, description. You can put a description in this field. You can also leave it blank. Enabled is checked by default. The table column attribute 1 is automatically selected. So we're just going to leave it as it was selected. The range type I'm going to leave blank, but one thing you'll notice is if you hover over it, it does tell you it does give you some information on how to use that field. And I'm going to leave definition help text and instruction help text empty for right now. I made my field, but I haven't made my value set yet. So I'm going to go ahead and just click save. But you'll notice it actually won't let me save it yet. It's not going to let me save anything until I list my value set. But I haven't created my value set yet. So we're going to go over here to the right and just click on create value set. We're going to give it a code. I can give it a description. I can give it a module. For modules, you can either click the drop-down arrow and click on search and do just a basic search that lists out all the modules. Be very, very careful because this lists out so many modules. You can try putting in the word like talent or performance and see what comes up. So there's talent review. I'm going to try performance. Let's do performance management. This code starts with HRA. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the module name as Performance Management and click OK. If you're creating a recruiting DFF, you can also pick the recruiting module. Just be pretty specific about which module you want to use. The next thing we're going to do is look at validation type. The difference is in the validation types, most frequently I use format only, independent, or dependent. Actually, most of the time I use independent. But the difference between them is going to be format only is going to be where the users enter data instead of selecting values from a list. Independent means it's just a list of values that you've specified. Dependent is a list of values where that value is derived from an independent value. So most frequently, I'll use independent. Once I do that, it's going to say, well, what kind of data is it? Is it a character? Is it a number? Again, we're going to identify that it's a character dropdown. And as you select these different options, your additional fields will fill in. If there's a data security resource name, you can add that there. I'm going to leave that blank for right now. My value subtype is going to just be straight text. I'm not using anything that's translated or any numeric digits or time. I'm literally just using text. I can also set a maximum length, a minimum value, and a maximum value. My maximum value, I'm going to set at 50 because I'm just going to put some job titles in, and I don't think the job titles will go over 50 characters. Then I'm going to go ahead. You'll notice this manage values button it's not enabled. It's not open. I can't click on it. So right now I'm just creating the value set. I didn't actually add any values to it. In order to get this manage values button to show, you're going to go ahead and click save. And it's actually making me enter a maximum length here. So I'm going to go ahead and set my maximum length up here as a maximum length versus a maximum value. And again, I'm going to go ahead and click save. Now the manage values button did pop up. It is now able for me to choose or click on it. So I'm going to head and click manage values. Now you do have the option of loading these values in through whether it's a spreadsheet loader or HDL. You can add all of your job title values so you don't have to add them one at a time through the screen. However, if you do want to add them, you can click on the add button. You have the value and the description. Notice that the value is required, the description is not. If you, let's say I'm going to type in the value of director. If I type in the value of director and I type in director as the description, they will literally show the same value side by side in the dropdown when you select them. So if you have an extended description, which it gives a little bit more information than other than just putting in the same director value and director value, that's great. Use the description field. But if you're going to use the same value, just leave the description field empty. I'm going to leave it as enabled, and my start date and end date, I'm going to leave blank. I can also go ahead and add a second field, and a third and a fourth, and however many values you want to add to this manage value section. Once I'm done adding my values, I'm going to click Save and Close. Now I've created my value set, and it has values. I'm going to click Save and Close. So I'm kind of building back up on what I just did. So to recap, I created the segment, I created the value set, and then I created the values. Once I saved and closed, it brought me back all the way to my create segment. The value set is already selected because that's what I did is I created my value set over here. So it automatically selected it. And I'm going to click Save and Close. It brought me back to my profile items with this new job title at the bottom under my person career preference. Again, I'm going to save and close. So we kind of went all the way in to set our values, and then we save and close, save and close, save and close back out to this Manage Descriptive Flex Field section. Now, this is the thing I forget to do every single time. You've created it, but now you have to deploy it. I always forget this every time. While your profile items is selected, you're going to click on this Deploy Flex Field. And what it's going to do is sometimes it takes a few minutes to run through this. It's going to deploy any changes that you made, and it's also going to give you any errors or warnings. It will go through all of the processes here. So I'm going to pause the video while it processes. You'll notice the confirmation we didn't receive any errors or warnings, and the OK button has lit back up. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and click on Done. Now I want to go back to my talent profile to check to make sure that my descriptive flex field is there and visible. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to my client groups and click on profiles. I'm going to go back to profile types, person, and when I scroll down, I'm going to go into career preferences. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom and I look at my DFF context code, here is my new DFF. It is a list of values. Attribute 1 is the column name, and it's there so I can select it and it will show as a part of my talent profile, and the candidate, or excuse me, the employee can select job titles. Thanks for listening in.